Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George, and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boy Connor.
Hello.
It's just you and me, bro.
Just you and me.
Benny's out of action. Many apologies, guys, this week. A bit of a few things happened earlier this week, and we couldn't quite tee up recording as we normally do on Tuesday night, so we had to kick it on to Thursday. Many apologies. To come with that, guys, we were supposed to release our Doctor Sleep review because we've all seen it, but we're kicking that on to next Tuesday. So it's coming out a little bit later, but
along with Irishman and some other things as well.
Mandalorian, episode 1 and 2, Watchmen, episode 5 as well next week. So yeah, but thanks for all your support. Thanks for always tuning in and your patience with us in these circumstances. But yeah, it's just your boy Connor and George this week. And do we have a week? Disney Plus has finally launched in America. We've got it next week, but we've got a few updates there. Amongst other things, including Matt Reeves as the Batman, we might have some casting updates there. And also a ton of trailers, Sonic the Hedgehog, Soul. We've also got some clips for What If, Question of the Week, Watchmen episode 4, spoiler review at the end of the show. It's a monster episode as it always is. And guys, if you want to skip anywhere, head to the annotations, skip to wherever you want to go in the episode. You have autonomy over your life. That's all we like. That's what we like to say.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
If you want us to stop talking, it's very simple.
Just send in that question. Just send in that comment. Send in that post. But you know, before the news, before the this, before the that, let's catch up on what's been on everyone's television. Connor, fill us in, man. Have you seen anything cool this week?
In my quest to bring my fiance up to speed on any number of pop culture IPs, which seems to be a mission that I'm constantly on.
That's a mountain. We
have watched quite a few episodes of the cult TV show Firefly. Nice.
I've never seen Firefly.
I was a bit worried.
I'm waiting for the right time to see that because it's heralded as the best of the best, and I've seen Serenity and I didn't love it.
Yeah, so this is always my concern, right? When you have a TV show that you know, that you love, that you've had a relationship with for a lot of years, showing it to someone else can be very nerve-wracking, and it kind of gives you a window into how a series has aged, and sometimes you revisit properties and they're just not good. And I'll get to that a little bit later.
Oof.
But with Firefly, I have to say that I think that I absolutely love it. I still love it, rewatching it now. And that is in part due to the writing from Joss Whedon. I think that this series hits a perfect line between comedy and drama, as well as bringing elements of sci-fi and Western, and particularly in the aesthetics. It's just a big melting pot, and there's something for just about everyone in this. So yeah, we're nearing the end. It's only 14 episodes, I think, 12 or 14 episodes all up, which means that ultimately it's short and sweet. Which is in and of itself bittersweet, I guess.
Love those kind of series.
Yeah.
Just leaving you with that taste. It's like with the band on stage, you want to leave them wanting more. You want to play 12 songs instead of 18 songs.
This, I feel like, could have, if there was at least another 6 episodes, I think that this would have been really great. Because there was some themes, or at least some...
Well, I guess season 2 was always kind of like, oh, we'll resolve this in the future.
Yeah, I don't know. So at any rate, still holds up, still makes me laugh out loud.
And what did What did your fiance think?
Taya, she
I
loves
don't know.
it.
If, like I'm like, do I call it? Do I say Taya on the podcast? I'm like,
Well, it is her name.
Well, you always say my fiance. So I'm like,
well, not many people are gonna know who Taya is. Like, if I just throw out a random name.
Awkward. Like, what do I do now?
No, she really likes it, which is more than I can say from my next entry into what I've watched this week. I convinced, cornered, forced, I don't know what the word is, for her to watch. Mate, don't be doing that. To watch Attack of the Clones.
Nice one.
And my big push with this is that I want her to have watched the prequels so that we can then watch the most
Sequel
recent trilogy. Yeah. Because I just feel like that you need some context for some of this stuff, right? So yeah, we chucked that on. Man, this is not aged well. It is, and it reinforces
Come
something.
on.
Yeah, it reinforces.
Come on,
something
that scene in Coruscant where he's getting chased and they're on the speeder thing flying through. That's awesome.
Piss poor.
That's awesome.
When was the last time you watched it?
Ooh, Attack of the Clones.
Because
Must have been 5-6 years ago,
rewatch it because it's not awesome, right? Like the thing that really frustrates me about this film is that there is a good movie in there.
Totally.
Not in what it's been shot, but the story that it is telling. Like, you watch it and you're like, fuck, if they had given this basic story to a competent director, particularly if they had done it nowadays, because I can forgive shoddy CGI, but I can't forgive the execution on the storytelling on this. Like, because the story's there, the screenplay, and I don't even necessarily blame the actors that much. Like, I mean, the acting is really stiff and kind of disjointed. But I think that has a lot more to do with the script, like the screenplay, than it does the actual actors.
Well, famously, George Lucas on set, his only direction he ever gives is faster and more intense. So, if the screenplay is not great and the director's not giving you anything more than that, you're kind of in a corner.
Yeah, and look, there's just lines. It's almost exited my head already. I only watched it less than a week ago, but
frolicking on those like pig paw things,
just
on
piss
Naboo.
poor, and like some super creepy lines as well. Like the initial, the way that they develop that relationship between Anakin and Padme is downright creepy.
You wouldn't do that nowadays.
Oh,
there's no way you would do like some 10-year-old kid falling in love and then
that has
20 years
not
later.
aged well. Just the way that like she like outright says, "You're making me feel uncomfortable," and he gives this like weird like smile to her. I'm like, oh, that does not play well.
Damn.
Like, it's just so creepy. Fuck knows what they were thinking when they were like, what was George thinking when he wrote that, when he's like, she's gonna say, "You're making me feel uncomfortable," and he's just gonna leer at her. Like,
I feel like he's the most innocent man. At least George Lucas, like he wouldn't even be like acutely aware of those.
See, we talked about this last time,
undertones.
Right? About his about watching The Phantom Menace and just getting this like intense feeling like, is this just really racist? With all like the voices and the stereotypes and that.
Totally.
I'm like, and in my head, like I don't envision George Lucas as this like guy that's like, yeah, let's take the piss out of people with funny accents type thing. Like, I just don't think that he would operate in that way.
Well,
and so like I
think
totally
he's very
get
philanthropic.
I'm sure he is. Like, I'm sure he's a really lovely guy, but like in terms of story, like the execution side of storytelling,
It's not refined.
Piss poor.
It's not very refined.
Yeah,
his
and
skill set is in other areas. His skill set is in technological advances and being a producer. Like, he's super prolific in that area.
Yeah,
and if he just
Industrial Light and
bullet points
Magic is really
Skywalker
impressive.
Sound, Lucasfilm,
Yep.
you know, developing technology.
Yep.
Attack of the Clones, one of the first films to ever be shot on digital. I think it was 720p though.
It's basically a animated film though. Like it does not age well at all.
But he, you know, he swung for the fences.
Yep.
But those prequels would have been better served if he'd just been a producer.
Yep.
And got somebody else to do a rewrite and direct.
I will give you an example. Count Dooku is the most what the fuck character I think I've ever he gets one mention at the beginning. Very kind of like the exposition in this film is horrendous. Like it's not done well. He gets one like quick mention and then he just shows up in the third act of this film like he's meant to have been this kind of key player. And you know, Ty, my fiance, she was really confused. She was like, have I just forgotten who Count Dooku was? Like, was he in the Phantom Menace? Like, you know, where the fuck did he come from? I'm like, completely out of left field. He's never been mentioned before.
You have to watch the Gennady Tartanov. I'm not going to say his last name because I'm not getting it right. Gennady T, let's call him.
Jenny T.
His Clone Wars series from 2003, the not the CG one, the one previous to that's been discarded from canon. Incredible.
But was that done?
There's heaps of stuff on
in
Count
between.
Dooku. It's pre.
Is it pre-Attack of the Clones?
No, I think it's between 2 and 3, but it explains heaps more and pans out that
so
character a lot.
That kind of retconning is, I guess, fine. But in terms of watching the Attack of the Clones,
totally,
it is really piss poor. And I think like that's just
nobody will contest that. I don't think. I think that for me is the worst Star Wars movie. It's below Phantom Menace, I would say. I
would agree. Yeah. You know, there are some redeeming factors of Phantom Menace. You know, often cited with that last lightsaber battle as being, you know, kind of the saving grace. Yeah. This one, the lightsaber battle was all right, but just watching Yoda hop around, it was so
leaves you cold.
Yeah,
the
cold
best
is
stuff,
probably the best
stuff in that movie by far is Camino, in my opinion. Stuff with Django and maybe it doesn't look great, but it looks.
Going back to that, it has not aged well at all, and just the whole. Again, there's so many elements of this that just felt like
my dreams away.
What in the hell is going on here? Like, who thought that this was going to be a good idea? And yeah, like I accept that. You know, technology not aging well is one thing, which just kind of exposes the major flaw of this film, which is the story. Like, I can go back and watch movies that the technology doesn't hold up, but as long as it's got like a solid story or at least solid direction, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't care about. Like, I watched the original trilogy and fucking love that, right? And that's in technology that's 20 years previous to 20, 30 years previous to whatever we see in the prequels. So, you know.
And it holds up, I would say.
It holds up, yeah. Because it's a good story.
It's practical in camera. You know, it's being photographed through a lens.
Yep.
The same way the actors are. And ultimately, it just looks better.
You watch Empire, and that movie holds up. Yep. Because that is a brilliant story. It's good execution, good direction, good acting. Like, it's just
Return of the Jedi as well is awesome.
Yeah. Seriously.
But I love Revenge of the Sith. You're in for a treat. Revenge of the Sith is dope.
That's why I was like to my fiance, I was like, I know. Let's just get through this, and then like you'll get some like reward for your suffering.
I love that. That's fantastic.
And then I'm really excited to you know, explore the new trilogy with her as well.
Yeah,
because that, I think, like from I'm
really keen to see Rise of Skywalker and do our retrospect as well.
Yeah, I think having revisited the prequels has been a trip. Like it's I'm
due in for a rewatch.
Yeah,
should even do a commentary or something on that. That'd
very
be fun.
Interested, man, because like you're gonna have some like people that defend the prequels, and I remember that you were one of them that was kind of shifting towards. I love the
counterculture, you know.
Yeah. I have a feeling that those are people that haven't watched it recently.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I rewatch it and tell me you're a prequelist. Because there's just no comparison.
Mm.
They're bad. And I get why people like the mythos, like the general story. Sweet. I get you. I'm 100% on board.
I'm
It's
one
a
of those
cool
people.
story.
Same with the Clone Wars animated series,
Sure,
the
yeah.
CG one.
I think that, on a kind of world building level, really cool. But on an execution level, as a movie,
Yeah.
really piss poor.
Mm.
Anyways, that's what I've watched.
Nice. Last week, Benny recommended, or was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. Benny recommended a Netflix horror movie called Wounds, starring Armie Hammer and Zazie Beetz. This was really fantastic. I highly recommend it, with one caveat in that it's not a spoiler to say that it just felt like 20 minutes was missing of this film right at the end. It literally, I was like, whoa. Like that's the credits.
That should be perfect for you then.
And
Is there no pleasing you, George?
you can
It's either
do it.
too long.
There's
or...
so many ways to do it, and an example of a film that did it really well was A Quiet Place. This one, however, did not do it in a great way.
You mean as in like ending
suddenly, like super suddenly, neutered, cut off, didn't resolve a lot of things, and it was building at a really great level. It's really fantastically done. Netflix,
in A Quiet Place? You mean? Or
no, in Wounds.
Yeah.
Wounds. It's a really fantastic movie. I just wish they'd stuck the landing and maybe extended out the ending of the film a little bit more. Armie Hammer's on point in this. There's some amazing sequencing, fantastic concepts, and overall, just Netflix have done a really great job here. And it's just great to see. Just great to see these streaming platforms. Like the content is starting to really get somewhere good.
Yeah, I've been pretty consistently impressed with Armie Hammer. He's done some cool projects in the last couple of years that I think has shown more of a range than I would have probably expected from him. He looks like a kind of a clone of Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he's like the jock.
You sort of expect the same kind of emotional range that you get from Henry Cavill, which I think he does a good job.
Preppy, good-looking guy. Like if he was born if he was 25, 35 in the 1950s, 60s, this guy would be murdering it. He's got that old school handsome look to him.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily as in these days.
Back when there was like 5 movie stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So highly recommend this one if you're a horror fan. Also watched Rick and Morty season 4,
Rick and Morty,
episode 1. Did you watch this?
No,
Haven't watched it.
No, I can't. I tried finding it yesterday.
Yeah. I just found it on
impossible.
Facebook. It was just there.
Oh, really? Yeah, because
dialed it in.
Adult Swim. You were able to at least at one point view it for free on the Adult Swim website,
Right.
But not in Australia.
Okay, yeah.
Which
region locked licensing.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like it's kind of like
Foxtel. It's Foxtel. Anyway,
fuck Foxtel.
You know what? There's some really, really amazing sci-fi concepts in this episode. I absolutely loved it. It pushed the envelope so far. It gets so wild. I thought this could have been one of the best pilots or openings to a series for Rick and Morty. And it was interesting because halfway through the episode, I was like, I don't know. Halfway through, I was kind of like, all right, let's, I'm not really vibing this. And then literally 30 seconds after that, boom, you kick to another gear. And I was like, okay, wow. This is coming together super, super nice. So I'm really impressed with this. I think that it's just a fantastic show, and it's nice to see them continuing to kind of do what they need to do with what they've set up with, for lack of a better term, the value proposition of the show. They're just kind of like, delivering on that. So I had a great time with it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion on next week's
I don't know how they're releasing it in Australia.
Is it on Foxtel now? Could be on Foxtel.
I thought I looked, maybe.
Not sure.
Anyways,
I
let's
think
move on
there's
to the
a
news.
I think there's a place called Torrent.
Yeah, toe rant.
Yeah, Toe.rent.
Cool.
Let's hit the news.
Let's do the news. And because Ben isn't here, I'm going to do the news myself.
Oh,
I know, a
I'm
dangerous
taking
proposition. No, it'll be me.
Yeah, I've got it.
I got it right here.
Oh, you
I've
got it
the
right
ball.
there?
I've got the ball. I'm ready to
Right
pass
there.
it. Yeah, right here. So first on our news list today, Disney Plus has launched in America, not in Australia or UK or anywhere else, but in the US, it has launched. Apparently, it had 10 million plus subs. Although it is probably worth noting that a lot, if not all of those, would have been free subs because you get the first month free or something like that. It's
Right.
You get most of that with any of these like streaming services. They give you a trial period and all that. I think that one of the things that I found interesting was that it crashed the website, or it crashed the service.
Yeah, I heard they had quite a number of hiccups along the way. It wasn't
Which
necessarily a smooth release.
Is not surprising per se, considering how they've released this.
Totally.
And it kind of it really interests me that, because Netflix has been such a progressive, like it grew so organically, in the sense that, you know, it was the first, if not one of the first streaming platforms. It kind of progressively grew, and it grew quite quickly, and it was able to
First mover.
develop its UI and its UX quite organically in that, and Disney Plus is really coming into it, you know, halfway in, and it's a bit different than, for example, Apple Plus, because Apple Plus already had the infrastructure there, right? You know, the Apple's
It's a tech company.
Yeah, it's a tech company. It already has a platform in which it can
iTunes.
release content. This is just a different way of doing that. Like, it's a different form. It's subscription as opposed to, you know, purchasing or something like that. This is a really new, like, this is a brand new product from Disney. So it's not actually surprising that they've had some technical difficulties with it. My question is, you know, does that damage them randall? Does that, you know, and how quickly will they be able to solve all those? Like, is that going to be something that we're dealing with for the next couple months as they release and they kind of test and they figure out what's working, what's not?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting. Maybe it was just flooded so quickly.
I'm assuming that's it.
You know,
yeah.
the bandwidth was just not able of the infrastructure was not able to cope. You know, you're very much right. You know, Netflix has been data driven. You know, they would have done a lot of A/B testing on their UI to figure out what's the best way to actually present a streaming platform to the end consumer, because this is trial by fire. You know, nobody's done this before. There's no status quo on how to do these things, and Disney's, you know, they're aping all these things, and then they're going to go down their own path and do that.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thought, and Disney are moving into a whole new area. Will they be able to deliver on that infrastructure? UK is coming out in March.
Oofed.
You know, France, Germany, the whole of Europe is pretty much getting it in, other than Netherlands, is getting it in March 2020. So, you know,
I've got
is that to set up some infrastructure? Is that to take it away from some licensing deals that are in place that they, you know, why is that? And will Disney be able to facilitate actually, you know, a streaming platform?
Yeah, that's really, like, I mean, I have a feeling it's probably to do more with licensing. It'd be very interesting if that's just like, do they have the bandwidth to accommodate that? Because, you know, that's a massive population. And from a perspective of, you know, being able to onboard that many viewers and subscribers and all that, you know, that's a big ask. You know, there's not, I can't think of any kind of like platforms or, you know, any kind of technology platform that is really built to be able to just take that onslaught immediately. It's like, I think there's a lot of people that don't really appreciate how mammoth a task this is for what they're doing. Because as I said, most of the other streaming services have either kind of grown organically or have already existed or had some kind of infrastructure in place.
You're upgrading servers periodically. You know, you're upgrading over periods of 6 months, quarters, whatever. You know, this is like we have to have enough data banks, servers, infrastructure to cope with 10 million subscribers within 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's monstrous.
That's like that task is, as I said, it's just mammoth.
And I don't know anything about that. You know, you work in that sort of space.
Yeah, look, it's you know, from my perspective, like hats off to them for having it go this well. Like honestly, like it's. I mean, it is really impressive.
Let's see how they go on the worldwide release. We get it next Tuesday, I believe.
So the 19th,
19th,
sure,
next Tuesday.
Which I am stoked for. I still have my own kind of like, I guess, what ethical or you know, moral objections to Disney coming out with a platform like this. But
yes, you do.
Yeah, yes, I do. But nonetheless, super excited for it either way.
Yeah, Mandalorian next week.
Yeah,
we'll be talking about it.
One of the other interesting things was that Kevin Feige came out and basically said that you want to understand Phase 4, if you want to understand the future of Marvel Cinematic Universe, you kind of have to have Disney Plus, that is a really bold move, I think, on the for Marvel to go down that route, or to Disney to go down that route. And you know, when I saw that, there's a couple of things that sprung to mind. One is which by doing this, they are really alienating the casual Marvel fan. So I think up till now, you really were able to kind of watch every film, or you know, watch every couple of films and kind of get some sense of what's going on. Obviously, the further down the road you get, the harder that becomes to really kind of keep everything together. But you know, you could go to a cinema twice a year and be up to date with what's going on in the MCU. It didn't matter that you hadn't seen the Netflix TV shows. It didn't matter that you didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Go to the cinema twice a year, you're good. This is like you need to add X amount of homework to make sure that you're up to date, which I think that's like, why are they alienating the casual fan? And are they banking on the popularity of their IP and saying that people will go to the extra mile of getting Disney Plus, like, or this is like a value add to get Disney Plus? Or are they effectively thinking that they're going to lose those casual fans anyways, and so let's kind of branch out and give a added value to your existing hardcore fans?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, and it's kind of, you know, Marvel's done it similarly to how Netflix have done it in our previous conversation. You know, Marvel has organically grown from releasing a movie every 1 to 2 years to 2 a year to 3 a year, and now they're at the stage where they've amassed such an audience. Endgame becomes the highest grossing movie of all time. You know, they have now they're at a stage where they're building in like a sort of a loyalty ladder chain where you've got, you know, you can be the surface level fan now, which is like where you're going once a year. You know, if you're getting 3 Marvel movies a year moving forward, you're going once a year. You got the more keen fan who's going 3 times a year, and then you've got the die-hard fan who is on Disney Plus day one and is watching Hawkeye and watching everything, every single episode.
But I guess that's my question.
And then in his quote, he says, if you want to understand everything, not understand like the general plot. You know, if you want to understand everything, you're going to have to get Disney Plus. And I think like they've earned that. It's actually it's pretty amazing how it's all kind of converged with streaming technology and Marvel being at the, you know, 10-year mark.
Yeah.
It kind of all makes sense to me.
Look, personally, I like that concept that they're branching into different mediums that are actually going to like affect each other, and some stories I think are better told over series as opposed to a movie. So I just from a business point of view, I'm curious as to whether they're worried that they're going to alienate certain more casual fans. Yeah. Anyways,
I'm just trying to find out what's coming out next year from the Disney Plus Marvel movies. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think
What If
everything
will
else
be
is
out
coming
as well.
2021. Yeah. Anyway, we'll have to figure that out.
Yep. Anyways, moving on. We have Andy Serkis, who has been cast as Alfred Pennyworth. I oddly enough, I really love it when Andy Serkis just plays live action, like it's just Andy Serkis, because I really like him as an
He's
actor.
fantastic.
Him in just speaking of the MCU, him in Black Panther,
Awesome.
fucking loved that. That was
Spoilers, Devo, he fucking cocked it in Black Panther because he was an awesome character.
Yeah,
I wanted to see him reoccur over
I
multiple
would have
movies.
loved that as well. But
awesome.
I think that
He was so fun and different and unique and really stood out.
yeah. Maybe that's good that he died in that. Then, like, maybe that's the kind of what's the quote of you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or
or even like quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Just get that little blip and kind of like
he was
that
in two
awesome.
movies. He was an awesome little kind of
That was it.
side villain, and
But I guess what makes me sad about this is Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons as Pennyworth in Batman v Superman and Justice League.
I believe so.
Jeremy Irons is from hearing his voice as Scar in the Lion King, the 1995 Lion King, all the way through to how him playing Adrian Veidt in the latest Watchmen series. He is just an awesome actor, and when he got cast as Pennyworth, I was really, 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 really excited about that. And he's never been given quite the opportunity to delve into the role, flex his muscles that like Michael Caine got, let's say in the Nolan Batmans. And it's cool to see Andy Serkis is a bit of a different vibe for Alfred, I feel.
But everyone in this series or in this movie, it feels like they're a bit of a different vibe to what I guess you would traditionally cast.
Well, I mean, you could say, Michael Caine, old British dude, Jeremy Irons, old British dude, Andy Serkis, middle-aged British dude who does mocap. He's a little bit different.
But he doesn't have quite the same refined, I guess, dignity that both Michael Caine and Jeremy Irons, both Michael Caine and Jeremy Irons, they have a certain presence to them.
Most definitely.
Where there's this kind of like
he's got fucking Gollum face, all right? You can go out and say.
Yeah. Well, no, but he just does. I've never seen him, I guess, act as though he could play that. Like, I've just never seen him in that kind of role, which I'm,
like a prim and proper role.
Yeah. And I'm very interested to see whether he does it or not.
He could be a bit more of a gritty, tank wielding, gunslinging Alfred.
I mean, like I still maintain that I am kind of done with the haphazard nature of the DC universe, more so with the characters that we've seen done again and again and again. I'm so not interested in seeing another version of Batman. Even if like they come out and like, oh, but this one's different. Well, yeah, so is Christian Bale, so is Ben Affleck. Like, they're all different, but they're all the same. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, like, the more I think about this, the more
jaded, man. I just jaded.
Yeah, I don't know. This doesn't. If they were really interested in doing something unique, I mean, at least the Joker did something unique.
Totally. I think this is gonna be cool, man. Some potential other casting though.
Yeah, so they've looked at Colin Farrell for to be playing the Penguin. What's his name? Oswald Cobblepot. Yeah. Yeah. Again, interest. Like, for me,
that's a good one to go for. I feel obviously you have to. You can't go. You got to have Alfred in there. Like, you can't not have Alfred in there. But in terms of your villains, I think Penguin's a good one to go in because we haven't seen him since Danny DeVito's one.
For me, Penguin will always be Danny DeVito. Like, that's 100%.
Such a 100%. And that's when, I sort of said to you guys when we had some casting rumors not too long ago, I was like, I just can't see. I think who was it? I can't remember who it was.
Some people were thinking that Jonah Hill was
Jonah Hill,
which I thought
that was Riddler. That was Riddler.
Oh, well, he was never really confirmed for what he was going to do.
But I was like, I just for every person that was brought up for the Penguin, I kept going like, can they do that? What Danny DeVito did, but then I have to remind myself that Penguin is not. That's an interpretation of Penguin.
Yeah,
that for me is the definitive interpretation. But I haven't read the comics. I don't know that character well. So what other ways? What other ways can he be done?
Yep, it's all totally valid.
So this is a fresh way. Evelyn's gonna have a rogue. We've heard on end.
It's fresh.
It's gonna be a rogues gallery. So there's gonna be multiple villains in this.
Yeah.
So I'm getting really excited for this one.
Really?
Super
what is it
excited.
that's drawing you to this project? Like
Matt Reeves. If Matt Reeves wasn't attached to this, I'd be like super worried. I'd be super unengaged.
So you have that much confidence in Matt Reeves that you're like, this is gonna just like have to be good?
Pretty much. I just think he's that great, man. Everything that I've seen of his.
Has he ever had a stinker?
I don't believe so. He had Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, Cloverfield. What else has he done?
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
What else has he done there?
I can never really tell with the Google movies because it's always like it's anything that he's been associated with.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to say what he's actually directed.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just jump onto direction. So Future Stock, Pallbearer, Cloverfield, Let Me In, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, and The Batman.
Let Me In. That's right. That was cool. That vampire one.
Writer and director for War of the Planet of the Apes. War of the Planet of the Apes, is that the second? Or
That's the third one in the trilogy.
That's the third one. So the third one I wasn't as sold on.
It's still awesome though, in its own way.
I don't think I would have gone so far as to say awesome. I love the first two. Third one was kind of a bit meh for me.
Okay.
From memory at least. Yeah, look, it's not a huge selection of movies. He does one like every 3-4 years.
But he's pretty damn consistent, and I think he's pretty damn good, man. And I really like those last two Planet of the Apes movies. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm still just my issue is with the property. Like we're doing another Batman film
too much.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's anything that they could do that is so unique that I did say that. At least Joker was unique, but that it was almost too unique. Like it was almost too departed from the original IP to like I thought it was a bit of a cheat to call it a Joker film. But
always got to be whinging.
I've always got to be whinging. Like there's always got to be a problem with it. But I mean that's been my problem with it. Problem with it from the beginning. And I feel like with this kind of thing, you can only reinterpret something so often or so many times, at least in that kind of medium. Before it's just like, just let it rest for 10, 20 years.
Talking about let it rest. That's a pretty damn good segue.
It is a damn good segue, isn't it? On to what is possibly the most disturbing yet inevitable story of this year, which is James Dean is to be digitally brought back from the dead. He's been dead 65 years, apparently. 65 years to star in a movie called Finding Jack, which is about the abandonment of 10,000 military dogs in Vietnam after the war. This is like, I say inevitable because, for the last few years, every time there has been a recently deceased or not even a recently deceased cast person brought back for some small scene or brought back in some way, usually in an existing IP. One of the questions that inevitably comes up is, how long before we have entire films starring dead actors? And here we are.
We had Peter Sellers in Rogue One. Peter Sellers? No.
Nope.
Peter Sellers, that's Pink Panther. What the hell's his name? Peter Cushing.
But he was brought back for a kind of minor role in an existing IP.
That is your only bargaining chip there.
Exactly, right? So I think that
So in this
he would have
case,
been like in that universe. He would have been around. Like
yeah, Princess Leia at the end. Okay, yeah, we've digitally de-aged her. Blah 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 blah.
Existing IP, you know,
you can
consistent
you can
with the
fudge your
universe
way
that is
through it.
already. Yeah, you can get away with this. This
this is gratuitous.
Fucking nonsense is what this is.
This is business. This is somebody investing in, what is it here? 400 celebrities, athletes, and sports.
Yeah, so
teams.
there's now like a production company called Magic City Films, which holds and represents the rights for more than 400 celebrities, athletes, and sports teams, and will quote unquote enable creators to bring back stars like Betty Page, Burt Reynolds, and Andre the Giant, sports legends like Lou Gehrig and artists like Maya Angelou, which, I mean, again, feels inevitable, but just so utterly gratuitous. And what I found particularly disheartening was the disingenuous reaction to the reaction that the directors had, because they basically were like, "We're so shocked that people are
we never intended this to be a gimmick."
Yeah, like, I can't believe that people are upset.
Yeah.
that we've cast James Dean and we're going to digitally bring him back, and this idea that the only reason we're like they cast him because this somehow feels like the right thing to do. I'm like, that is so like obviously bullshit to me. Like, what, you went through Hollywood and elsewhere and you just couldn't find the person to play this character? Like, there's just no other option? I mean, it's so obviously bullshit.
So this is an article from Birth Movies Death. They've got a couple quotes here from the one of these guys, one of the producers, Anton Ernst. We really don't understand it. We never intended this to be a marketing gimmick. This is in response to the negative reaction. We will take every precaution to ensure that his legacy as one of the most epic film stars to date is kept firmly intact. The family views this as his fourth movie, a movie he never got to make. We did not intend to let his fans down. So James Dean made 3 movies, right? This is like, this movie adding to it is a quarter added to his filmography. I just think like this is business. This is supply and demand. This is intellectual property, whatever. This isn't like love of creation. This isn't love of filmmaking.
I just feel like, am I missing something? Was like James Dean set to play the main character in this back in the day and he just never got the chance? Like, where is the...
But didn't James Dean die like in the 50s?
Fucking ages ago. Yeah, like 65 years ago.
So anyway, listen, this for me is just, this is commerce. This isn't art. But
I think this, like, it's just, yeah, you're 100% right.
And I wonder, the real test here is, what are people going to do when the film comes out? Will they put bums in seats? Will they support this, or will this bomb and people realize, hey, this is obviously not a good avenue?
I hope this bombs. I genuinely hope this. Like,
I think it will.
I don't often, actively wish that films bomb. Like, there's movies that I dislike, but even then, I don't want them to bomb.
There's something more to this, though.
This, I want the studio to have a very clear message on, though. Like, I don't see any value in this.
I somehow believe it's going to happen, man.
I think that a lot of people will be put off by the fact that it's James, like it's a deceased person. And there's just no excuse to have James. Like, there's no reason. That's what really blows my mind. Like, I just don't, like, there's no reason to have James Dean in this. Just unless I am missing something.
Yeah. Listen, just get somebody else in there for this role. There's a lot of talented actors out there.
Yeah.
You've got plenty to choose from.
It honestly, it blows my mind that this is even an option for these people. It just...
All right, people, you guys got to go out there when this comes out and don't go see it. You just literally when the movie comes out, just sit down. That's all you need to do. Sit down and do nothing.
I feel dirty promoting the not seeing of a film.
And the family, man, they would have got a serious payout for this. Like,
Yeah.
Put like 3 kids through college,
And fair
buy
play
a new
to 'em.
house. Fair play.
Like I don't blame the family, not even in the slightest. I blame the people that thought that this would even be the slightest the hint of a good idea.
What's that time?
It is trailer time.
Oh yeah, baby.
It is. We've got a lot of trailers to get through. So first on the list was possibly one of the most controversial trailers of God knows how long.
2019, I would say.
Even further back than that.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog came out early this year?
Yeah.
Pretty early this year.
Middle of the year?
And was just met with a barrage of, what the fuck were you thinking? Like
abusive comments. Rightly abusive.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of shock, like just this looks terrible.
And not even like diehard Sonic fans, like everyone who's just seen an image of Sonic was outraged.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Rightly so. So much so that the filmmakers backtracked and have gone and reconstructed this whole entity, this whole film, redesigned the character, made him way more pixel perfect to the classic Sonic design. And I think this is feeling way better.
Already, I am more interested in this film. My main draw is still, like, if we're going to talk about the trailer itself, my main draw is still Jim Carrey. I don't ever not find him hilarious. There is something about that guy that just like hits me.
I'm not loving what he's doing here, but I think once we see the extended scenes, I think they'll really, the comedic timing and whatnot will come through. But yeah, it's just he doesn't look unsettling. The scenes with James Marsden are more fun. Like overall,
So I wonder
I'm
if there's
enjoying it a
any
lot more. I think it's like his
reshoots?
little fart joke under his armpit and stuff is real cringy. But it doesn't seem to. I don't know. Maybe it's got a little bit more to it than the Smurfs and whatnot. It just seems to have a little. It seems to be a little bit more in tune with Wreck-It Ralph or something from this trailer.
Yes, it does seem a little bit more kind of, I guess, refined. It's a weird word to use when we're talking about Sonic, but like, it just seems a little bit more. Like I could convince myself to see this. Like the movie that the other trailer was for. Not a chance in hell.
Yeah,
you could not drag
completely
me to that
agree.
thing. This, I mean, if there's nothing else on,
and they're bringing some fun gameplay mechanics in there. Within he's running on the Great Wall of China and doing loop-the-loops and whatnot. I thought that was fun.
Yep. So this might have just been like, I don't know if they've reshot anything or if they've kind of made any more adjustments apart from the CGI to make the character look different. But the trailer is certainly better.
100%.
Should we move on?
Let's do it.
For something a completely different, pace. We've got The Invisible Man. Now, you did a little bit of research on this and found out that this is the same property that was originally meant to be a part of the
Universal Monsters
universe. But after the poor performance of The Mummy with Tom Cruise, they've actually sold off the property to Blumhouse, who is now producing it.
And Universal are distributing it still. So there is some involvement here. They've brokered some kind of a deal. I'm really loving the look of this. And this is exactly the way this franchise, this Universal Monsters should go. They've modernized it. They've brought it up to date. I'm more in love with the way that listen, I don't think this is the best trailer and whatnot. But I think I'm just more stoked on the direction of this Universal Monsters series and where this indicates they're going.
I think that this is kind of like, this is not going to be part of a universe or a series.
I think it is. I think it is.
No.
Well, I mean, maybe they're anthologies. Maybe they're not related, but it's the you've got the classic characters revisited, as it were.
Okay, yeah, I kind of see. I definitely get that in a sense. I was really disappointed with the trailer itself.
Okay.
Because I felt like
blew its load.
Yeah, seriously. Like I what's the point in watching the film?
I saw the movie now.
Yeah, and that's particularly disappointing with horror films. And I again, it's always the catch-22 of advertising for horror comedy, which is that you have to give enough into the trailer to bring people in. But, you know, horror and comedy are about those little moments. And, you know, once those moments are spent, they're kind of spent.
And it's not, you know, it's not even necessarily that you have seen everything. It's the feeling that you felt that you've seen everything.
Yeah, and just
that
the twists
prevents
and
you
the
from
turns.
going.
Yeah, it's
so
the twists
maybe
and
there's
turns.
way more to this, but there's just so much in the trailer packed in there that I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of know what I'm going to get now.
Yeah.
And I
nothing. I'd be very surprised. I would be surprised if anything in the actual movie surprises me. That's kind of a.
But that's the thought.
obvious
That's not actually
statement,
the
but, like-
reality of it. Like, it's most likely the reality. It's most likely the outcome. But that's just a thought, and that's the thought that the trailer invokes. And
Yeah.
I think that means that the trailer hasn't quite cracked it.
Yeah, I think these kind of trailers should give like basic premise, like a general
point of that.
vibe.
Bullet point the first act out, and a bit of the second, and
Yep.
a couple bits from the third.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's trailers, guys. Like, just don't
Trailers
fuck it up.
101.
Just don't fuck it up.
Moving on, and this again, another Blumhouse produced film, Fantasy Island.
This looks great. This looks really cool.
Looks great. Not as bad as The Invisible Man for kind of giving you the entirety of the film. I do think it does fall into that trap a little bit as well. Like, I think they just kind of show a little bit too much, but as a trailer, much better.
I thought as a concept, I really like this concept, but what they could have done rather than showing, oh, here's this person's thing and here's that person's thing and here's their, just show one person's experience and kind of, bullet point that out and then show a couple teasers of what else is going on. Because again, I feel like I'm seeing too much. And I don't necessarily know, with this kind of movie, with this kind of budget, will they have the kind of writer that can resolve this concept in a satisfying fashion? I somehow I contest that. So
yeah, this seems like a fairly well-worn track, and they are going to have to. I mean, I never begrudge a film that that goes down a well-worn track that like your standard action films or your standard horror
Did you think
films.
it's a well-worn track with this one?
Group of kids go to an island.
But I like the
There's
fantasy
more-
element. Like, it's
There's
like
more to the island than first appears.
it's
Like it.
manifesting your fantasy.
That to me is the
That
gimmick.
was really
But
interesting.
the I mean, it depends on how strongly they or what kind of twist they bring to that gimmick. But it at the moment it seems
Exactly.
very much like the surface level gimmick for what is a well worn track of like, let's get a couple of kids on an island that like things. And I mean, again, which I'm absolutely fine with, like the slasher style film. Like,
I don't
there's
think it
nothing
looks-
wrong with if it ain't broke, or don't try and fix it, right? My concern comes in is if they're going to try and do something a bit different, you really got to commit to that. So like Cabin in the Woods, fucking fantastic, because they really went for something different.
Yeah.
And they they didn't just try and like, it wasn't surface level. They like it actually mattered, the differences that they made, as opposed to some other kinds of films just kind of put a surfacey gimmick and then like just continue on the same little track.
Well, I don't know. I thought this looked interesting, but I just don't know if they'll be able to wrap it up. That's my concern here.
The ending, like
It's an interesting concept. What do they do with that concept?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, looks solid.
It's a reimagining of a television series. There you go.
Okay, and what's the television series?
Fantasy Island.
Oh, okay. That's the same name. Wow.
Yeah,
Bold,
it has been
bold.
described as a mix of Westworld and Cabin in the Woods. So
Cool.
there you go. That's I hadn't actually read that when I talked about Cabin in the Woods. So it's
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit.
no, I hadn't actually. I mean, but for me, like that's a high bar to
Yeah,
put out there.
100%.
So
And I can see the parallel.
if
From
they
the trailer.
if they kind of, I hope that they're not talking about for Cabin in the Woods the gimmick of like, someone controlling.
It's like everyone's got their own little quest that they go on in a way.
Yeah,
Kind of like It as well.
sort of.
Totems.
Anyways, moving on, we have Soul, which is a new Pixar property.
Looks really nice and polished. I thought that the animation style, it looks fantastic. It
It's
looks
Pixar.
really fantastic.
It's Pixar.
And his little soul character design, really nicely put together. I wonder where this is going. Really, the kernel of information we've got about this, about Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross scoring it, yeah, that's what I'm pumped about.
So
That's what I'm really excited about.
this
here.
trailer, I thought did a really good job in that for the first, 2/3, I was really not interested. When he's doing his little like speech, how are you gonna be remembered? Like, how are you gonna like do that? I was like, oh fuck, man, like Pixar, come on, give me something. Like that's what I love about these Pixar films. There's something like, there's an edge, or it's more than a gimmick. It's just there's something about
You
them.
could feel I was building to that, right?
I was hoping so, but I was just like, you gotta just come on, something. And then when he falls in and he's that little spirit thing, I was like, yes, all right,
Here we go.
I'm on board.
Yes.
I'm immediately on board, and I love the animation style. There was something like, it was funny, like when he
quite stylized.
when he does Soul, but his glasses are like really crisp, and I like that really fascinated me, that animation style.
And also the animation in the real world is kind of a little bit more stylized. It's more like that Incredibles kind of
But like hyper realistic.
hyper realistic, exactly.
Yeah, which
And
seems
it just
to be
looked so nice and beautiful and picturesque.
That's
Like, I
it's
think-
Pixar again.
Yeah, but it looks better than that other one. That's, for me at least, I'm not liking the look of that other one with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt.
And Chris Pratt, yeah. So that one,
Trolls or
that's an
whatever that
interesting
one's
one,
called.
right? Because like that,
This one is looking a lot more crispy to me.
it is. Yeah,
I'm way more pumped for this one.
I'll be very interested. I
that other one.
want to figure out what it's about. Like this is a really good teaser because
Really
it
good
gives
teaser.
you so little, and you're like, oh fuck.
Really good teaser.
Have you watched Coco yet?
No.
Mate, you have to get
Okay,
onto
I'll
that.
get on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really need to get on that.
That for me was when I was like, yes, Pixar still has it.
Yeah.
Like they're still on it.
I've got a massive list, and when I go to South Africa in December, I'm going to just be dialing in all these movies.
Yeah, Coco is definitely one that
Yeah.
you have to dial in.
That'll be great.
Moving on, we've got A Christmas Carol, which is a BBC produced series.
First question off the bat.
Yeah.
Did you love the Muppets Christmas Carol?
Yes.
I loved that, and it had a darkness to it. It still kind of creeps me out when I watch it.
That
I've always kind of loved that Ebenezer Scrooge story purely because of that, from being a kid, loving it.
Yeah, this is a funny one, right? Christmas Carol, because it's like one of those really iconic Christmas stories. It's been redone again and again and again and again. I like this. I haven't been really interested in a remaking of A Christmas Carol, I think maybe since Muppets. No, actually there was one with like Bill Murray that I watched when I was like a kid or something that I thought was funny.
That one's fantastic.
Um,
There's that horrible Robert Zemeckis one from like 2000.
with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Just don't be involved in that. So this is more of a realistic kind of Christmas Carol.
I don't know if I'd say realistic, but it is certainly darker and a little bit edgier, which
or more the production design at least looks more
crisp.
suited to the period. Like the costumes are period accurate and whatnot.
And I always think twice when someone's like, oh, it's an edgier version of, all right, fuck, like, just because it's edgier doesn't make it better. But they've got some serious talent on this one. And so that really sparks my interest.
You've always got the asterisk of BBC, which can be really great and it can be really awful. when it's great, it's normally in these kind of circumstances where it's a period piece, it's a retelling of some old fantastic thing. Where BBC doesn't hold up is Watership Down.
Oh, fuck yeah.
When Watership Down comes in and it's CG and whatnot, they can't facilitate the budget.
They are so hit and miss, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like it's
That
actually
War of the Worlds
wild.
one as well popped up on Foxtel now.
Did you watch any of it?
No, I just didn't want to.
Yeah,
at all.
it doesn't. I mean, War of the Worlds feels like something that you need a decent sized budget to like really bring to the screen. Except for that medium. Like there's some stories that are really awesome. Like they're good stories. They, read the book.
Exactly.
But if you are going to commit to bringing that onto screen, you better have like either some serious skills or some serious cash.
A new take.
Yeah. So, and I don't think BBC is really good at doing that.
Not necessarily.
Anyways, this actually looks really. I don't know why this is really.
It looks good. Looks good.
But I think the talent involved is
that time of year.
Yeah. Speaking of that time of year, it's not actually, but I was trying to segue into the next one. We've got Bad Boys for Life. For life.
I'm the Bad Boys guy.
Are you?
I love them. I love 1 and 2. You I feel like you don't. You and Betty
I've
don't
watched
like
them. Like I mean,
I've got a real soft spot for
I
them.
wasn't. I'm not holding my breath for a third one.
Yeah, and I kind of feel. Listen, there's some interesting stuff in here, and you're getting a lot of explosions. You're getting a lot of explosiveness. You're getting the action-packed Bad Boys formula. I'm liking that they're separating them, and he's kind of like Will Smith's on his own little task force, and he's got a new team. And there could be some funny moments in there, but then it all of a sudden, Martin Lawrence is back in the fold, and it's kind of like, is this going to be a good script? Is there going to be something interesting here? At the very least, are there going to be awesome action sequences? Because that's what you kind of want. And banter.
Yeah.
You want, for Bad Boys, you want good action. You want banter.
Yeah. I have a really, I've got a soft spot for Martin Lawrence. I just think he's funny.
Big Mama's House, man.
But this movie concerns me because I have a feeling that, at least from the action point of view, there's sometimes this, I guess, misconception that action movies have, I guess, if that's the right way to phrase it, that bigger explosions equals better action. And this movie looks like it's,
using that mantra.
It's using that kind of ideology. Like, we'll get faster cars, we'll get bigger explosions, we'll get CGI helicopters, crashing through and, doing these wild things, and that's the mentality, right? Let's just bigger, badder, better.
It's a massive shame Michael Bay's off this, because he did some awesome stuff in those first two ones, and he's a lot more in camera than this one looks. It is going off your point.
So that, you can have a really good action film that has, little to no CGI. And so, it's a bit rough like that, right?
I'm still excited for it.
Look, I'll watch
my
it.
expectations are low, and delivery will probably be right on there.
But that's the thing, right? This is the perfect kind of blockbuster, because you're not going in to watch an Oscar film or anything like that. You're not going to be sideswiped and being like, oh, that turned out to be, just 2 hours of action and banter.
It's 2 liters of Pepsi, a off extra large popcorn, and copious amounts of chocolate, and just
this is
switch
where
your
I
brain
think
off. These
kinds of I would. This is a weird segue into what Scorsese was talking about, cinema should be for cinema, or film and all that. I'm like, but this kind of shit, I love this. I don't think that
it's better in the cinema than at home.
Yeah, it's an experience, right? I would be really sad if this wasn't here. If this kind of film didn't exist.
And also, I feel like there's kind of a new paradigm forming for what's going to go to the cinema and what's going to go to streaming. And that's previously been that's not going to do well in cinema. Let's put it on Netflix. And it's turning into, we're building this type of film for this type of platform and making it more native to the platform. So the cinema releases get pushed further this way. The streaming movies and TV series get pushed more another way. And there's kind of more of a template or a market fit for what you're trying to actually achieve rather than kind of just
whatever we can
spitballing.
get. No, I agree. Cool. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
We've got a new TV series from Apple Plus.
Yes.
Called Servant, which has M. Night Shyamalan attached to it.
You and I were both saying how crisp Apple's trailers are looking like. It's got that Apple kind of stamp of approval sheen to it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate they're going for a distinct look because there's this streaming market has just tripled in size within like a 6-month period. You know, everyone has to stand out and get their piece of the pie. I think Apple are doing within what the brand is, they're doing it well, I think.
Yeah, so I think that they are positioning themselves as a kind of premium service. You know, there's a gateway on quality. Like they're getting big names. They're getting, you know, kind of epic properties. They're getting, you know, really crisp looking cinematography and all that. So like I like that they are taking a bit of a different tact with their streaming service. I feel like the lots of content style engagement that market is pretty saturated. Like at the moment, you've got really big players in there like Prime, you've got Netflix, you've got Prime, Netflix, and now kind of Disney Plus are I think are going to be the three main everything to the wall kind of providers. You've got some of the smaller ones like Hulu and Stan and
HBO Max and
things like that. They're a little bit
second
more
tier,
like, just in terms of like the marketplace.
Yes. They're like an add-on. You know, you have Netflix and you add on
the other little superfluous ones.
Yeah. But this looks really great.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I love the concept. I was actually like this. It's funny. Like the other day, I was reading about, you know, things like phantom pregnancy, like which is a mental illness where there's women that believe, despite like, you know, blood testing saying that they're not, but they believe that they're pregnant, and like the psychological strain that can put on a family, in a relationship, all that kind of it's terrifying. I was reading about it. I was like, fuck, that's really intense. And there's you know, similarities in what this is dealing with, and I think it's such a cool topic to explore as a psychological thriller.
So the idea is that this family has a doll instead of a child, and
I think there was a line about how they lost their child.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that was
replaced it
pre-birth or
as a coping mechanism for the mom, and this nanny is being hired to come look after this doll, and it's this really weird situation where, you know, I'm being paid. It's going to get very interesting. And M. Night is directing episode 1 and episode 9 in the series. So November 28th. This is really cool. I'm going to get on this and watch this. I'm really excited for this. I think this looks really fantastic.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm getting way more excited for streaming stuff than cinema releases.
Well, I mean, like just from a the amount of content perspective, like there's just so much more out there, so there's going to be a lot more hits. It is kind of it's the future. Totally. So I mean, I think a lot of good content creators are going to be drawn towards that medium because that's the way that they're going to communicate with their audiences more and more.
It's fascinating.
It is really fascinating. And that's not to say that I think that cinema doesn't have its place, like that you know, going out to a movie theater is a bad thing, because and I've been saying this for years, well before we were like, you know, back when we worked at a cinema, I was like, they have to change their thinking. They have to make going to the cinema an experience. They can't just rely on the content that's being put on the screens to draw people in.
Hopefully they do. As sort of taking from what I was saying before, hopefully the cinema just gets pushed into its own little niche.
From a content perspective, but I think the individual cinemas need to take it upon themselves to really to really make it an experience.
You want to go to that barbershop, Hoyt Cinema bullshit they got?
Do they have a barbershop?
It looks
That's
like
not
it.
what I mean by an experience. I just mean like
I'm kidding.
putting on interesting events or content, or just making like
it's got to be
really simple
Instagrammable,
shit, like,
it's got to be Instagrammable. It's got to be an event. It's got to make you like goodie bags, Q&As, just a value add from something than just going to sit down in a room.
Because if cinemas are just relying on content, there is so much that I can get from the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, well, that's what it's been like with The Irishman, reviewing that. Like, I've been chock-a-block last weekend and the weekend before, and I'm just kind of being like, when am I going to see The Irishman? I wish it was just on at Netflix so I could just dial it in.
3.5 hours. I was saying this to you before we got onto the podcast. Like, what a fucking joke that Scorsese went out and was like, oh, cinemas have to be more selective with, what they put onto their screens, and, they should, go towards, film. And then he gives these cinemas a 3.5 hour runtime film that fucks up with all of their like programming, and
it's Scorsese, bro.
Stops
don't
them.
argue with them.
That's at least a session or two that they can't fit into a day, which is money lost for them. Like how like
that's how it's done, son.
Completely out of touch do you have to be?
That's how it's
to
done.
Like, oh fuck that gets me. It's so wild.
I love it. Servant. It all goes back.
Anyways, finally, we've got not technically a trailer, I suppose, but some clips from Marvel's What If, like little clips of each one.
I think it was released on their Twitter account.
Must have been, yeah.
This looks really great. I'm really digging the animation style. It's not necessarily that one that everybody loves. It's like a sort of cell shaded CGI almost looking animation, but I think it's fitting, and I think the aesthetics are working for me right now.
Yeah, I am. I'm not as excited for this as you. I think just like based off what I've seen. It's.
I always love parallel realities, alternate histories.
Yeah,
and what could have been.
Yeah,
and there's some interesting stuff in here.
Yeah,
Captain Britain or Captain America with Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter's character. Marvel Zombies. It looks cool. It looks engaging and interesting. And especially for somebody who's been invested with the MCU since day one, I think this is really fun stuff.
Yeah. The one thing that I kind of thought was a bit, it's definitely not disappointing, but like from what I've seen so far, it's just a matter of like, oh, what if T'Challa was Star-Lord, or what if Haley Atwell was Captain America? I'm like, that doesn't seem terribly inventive in terms of what if. Like, I kind of wish that.
I think Haley Atwell,
100%
Peggy Carter's cool.
Well, but
Star-Lord is like, that's weird to me. That's just a switch out.
My point is not necessarily who replaces who or what if this person was that. It's more about like, I would rather see like, what if Tony Stark never had his change of conscience? And it's not just taking a different person and putting them in a different mask. It's like changing some event and seeing what the follow-on. So like, what if Iron Man was a bad dude? Like that.
What if the Iron Man never got the gems back and Thanos actually...
Those kinds of things are a little bit more interesting to me. Not just like swapping someone out. That I'm just kind of like, I don't know why that... Like, I wish there had been something a little bit more interesting. Like, maybe do a couple of those, but like, I also want to see like...
I'm not sure how many of these we're getting. I think there's like 12, so maybe there will be a few of those.
Yeah, I hope there are, where they do something a little bit more funky, where it's not just a matter of...
I'll buy your point.
Different, like the Haley Atwell one, the one that we saw in the tiny clip, has Steve Rogers as Iron Man and her as Captain Britain. I'm like, that's just changing the character and putting them in the different, like, it doesn't really feel...
I understand what you're saying.
Alternate reality enough for me.
Sure.
Anyways, but I'll be there day one, so...
Yeah, exactly.
hell I'm complaining about. Yeah.
Let's finish up with question of the week. Guys, we love hearing from you. So this is the viewer question of the week. We're going to change it to viewer question of the week because it's about you guys. We want to interact with you guys.
What if they listen?
You just like sound the conch and like a
mean,
pigeon will
if
come
it's a
through
viewer
your
question. Can listeners not?
Oh yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, what is it? What do we
Engager of the week?
Engager?
Yeah, those who
Content
those that
engager?
gauge.
Content
That
engager question of the week. Do you reckon that rolls off the tongue nicely?
So much better, yeah. 100%.
That's it. So, viewer engager question of the week.
Content engager.
Content engager, viewer engager. Fuck. We want to hear from you guys. So hit us up with a quick question. Normally the best way is on YouTube comments, but also hit us up in the DMs or comment on our posts on Facebook,
is always
Instagram.
a really good way to get it.
Hit us up. So we've got a really good one here from L. Lee.
L-I?
L-E-L space L-Y. Thanks for your question. Really interested to hear your opinions on Doctor Sleep next week. Don't worry, that review is coming next Tuesday. Stay tuned. Considering how director Mike Flanagan has pretty impressively handled well-beloved novels, films, IP, and the horror genre, do you think he could handle a Star Wars trilogy better than, say, JJ or Rian Johnson? Ooh.
Was there a follow-up where they also asked about how they would handle, like, for example, the Harry Potter films?
Yeah.
IP? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I wanted to keep it to the Star Wars component of it
because I actually had a really good answer for the
we've got
Harry
Mandalorian.
Potter.
Oh, okay. Well, we can.
But anyways,
include that.
let's do Star Wars first.
We can include that. Let me finish the whole question then.
Yeah.
If you want to address that.
Yeah, definitely.
So the remainder of the question is IMO. Flanagan is the kind of the writer-director I'd love to see working alongside JK Rowling on a more emotional retelling of the original Harry Potter books in a $$ TV miniseries format. That actually sounds really fucking cool.
It sounds fucking amazing. So we'll go Star Wars first, and then we'll jump into Harry Potter. Look, Mike Flanagan's.
Sorry? So I'm really sorry. I've just got to butt in here and say, could handle a Star Wars trilogy better than, say, JJ or Rian Johnson. My concern here is that, my concern here is that Mike Flanagan, he is really great on those smaller budgets. Like, can he handle the size and scope of a Star Wars production? Like, I'd want him to get a movie in between that would like brace him for, you want him to get on a $60 to $100 million movie to cope with a $200 million.
Do you know what would be really great is if this is the way that I think if he was going to do a Star Wars film, it should progress. He should do a Marvel film, which means that he will get experience working with like a really big budget. But Marvel is kind of really well renowned for giving a very structured, or like, they give a lot of support to their directors in terms of what they can and cannot do, or, like there's that framework there. So I think that'd be a really good stepping stone.
Or even like a Marvel TV series or a Star Wars TV series. Maybe just one episode, $10-15 million. Yeah. Maybe that's a good way to go.
Look, so this is...
But in terms of storytelling,
well, yeah.
I think he's got that darkness that I'd like to see him bring out more out of Star Wars.
So Flanagan is really, really good at giving the due time to characters. Like, that is something that he has consistently shown that he has a flair for. If you look at Haunting of Hill House, that's a character study. Even if you look at Doctor Sleep, and I won't go into what we think about that, but like from a character perspective, he's obviously very good at getting you to engage with characters,
and also seeing those characters interact.
Yeah,
particularly in Hill House with the family dynamics.
Oh, yeah,
that was expertly handled.
So I think that that from a character point of view, when it comes to Star Wars, would love to see that, because I think that that's something that's been kind of lacking a little bit in the pretty much
sequel trilogy.
The sequel trilogy and the prequels for that matter. But like for the sequel trilogy, I think that there hasn't been as much kind of in-depth. Like when I think about Rey, I kind of, probably not the greatest example. If I think about
Kylo,
not Kylo. Because I think Kylo and Rey are probably the ones that have had the most character development.
Definitely.
But if you think about like, Finn. I feel like there's a missed opportunity there, right?
Definitely.
But
that's kind of the Last Jedi's fault in a way.
It is, yeah. But I think that if that had been handled by, let's say, Mike Flanagan, he wouldn't have wasted a character like that. I think he would have avoided adding more characters and really nurtured the ones he had. Or if he had added characters, as Rian Johnson did, I think that he would have done a far better job at giving them relevance and how they interact and how they, just the general audience engagement with those characters as well. So I would absolutely love to see Rian Johnson handle the character side of that. I do tend to agree with you, which is, Star Wars is a different beast entirely, and JJ Abrams is really good at kind of putting on that producer hat and like dealing with a studio and managing a million different things.
Size of the set, even,
Yeah.
How do you light and shoot a set of that magnitude?
Yeah, and there's some directors that just have the experience or the wherewithal to be able to handle that, and I don't think I've ever seen a film from Flanagan that is of that scale. Particularly, like, if you're talking about sci-fi, there is so much to be able to just handle from a logistics point of view. I mean, even if you let's look
Doctor
at
Sleep, I would say he had a bit more.
There's
If
more
I think
budget.
about that, there's more budget there. So
There is.
That's probably a $30 million budget.
But also, if you think about it, at any one time, no more than maybe 2 or 3 characters on screen.
Totally.
At
There's
one
no
point.
armies. There's no.
There was never any huge
Nothing
logistical
crazy.
issues. Lots of like lone shots or one-on-one dialogue. Like
$45 to $55 million budget. They're saying so. Hey, maybe
not a small budget, but like again,
solid budget there. Solid budget.
even
But-
if you look at,
but-
I was going to say
yeah,
the
yeah.
Russo brothers, even in their early stuff when there was no budget, like if you look at some of those Community episodes,
There's a lot going on.
there's a lot going on, and there's quite clearly like a lot of things that need to be organized, particularly in some of the more rambunctious episodes, like
Yeah.
paintball episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
You can say like, all right, I can see how that translates, but I don't know if I see how Flanagan's skill set necessarily translates. Like, I'm not saying that he would be bad at it. I just said I haven't seen proof that he's, to that level that let's say J.J. Abrams is at.
But in terms of the second question here, I think that number one, he ticks the box in the miniseries format.
Yep.
Haunting of Hill House was one of my favorites of 2018. And secondary, Flanagan just seems to his filmography seems to have a more natural fit to the Harry Potter universe
Oh yes,
and the Star Wars universe.
I would kill to see Flanagan take on the original series.
How creepy he would do it.
Well, he'd be able to go creepy where he needs to go creepy, but I think that again, talking about characters, like Harry Potter is about the characters, right?
Most definitely.
And I think that some of the films, the original films, they kind of skimped out on the character and went a little bit for the surface magical world.
But
thing.
that's just the nature of movie versus book, I feel.
It is, but I think that
You'll never get that depth of character.
you'll never get the same depth. Like,
Whilst
I totally
in the
agree.
miniseries, you can get that a lot more.
Miniseries, and I think the touch of Flanagan is also a major thing. I think that he would, there would be a lot more focus on the characters.
Yeah.
Um,
I definitely think the books, like, they should definitely be fast tracking that. Like, getting, this whole Fantastic Beasts thing has not worked. Fast track those miniseries. So by 2023, 2025, you got.
miniseries is a tough one if you think about it, because like
You do-
miniseries
you
is
could do-
as much, if not more, filming time than a movie, and you're still
Definitely.
running like you would have to basically run up against the same issue that the movies had, which is you've got kids that are growing up.
You just do it like Game of Thrones. They come back every year. You do the fucking 3 months, bing, bada, boom.
Yeah, you could do that.
But you'd have to have it all dialed in.
Oof.
Yeah,
That
that
would.
that really does sound awesome. I think that's the way to go.
When
with
I
this
read
shit.
that this week, I got like I got like actually excited for something that's never going to happen.
You hear that? ELLY.
Ellie,
We like
Ellie?
we like where your head's at, man.
yeah.
Or gal, guy or
I mean,
girl.
to be honest, I'll watch anything that Flanagan does.
Totally.
At this point, he hasn't. I was thinking about this the other day. He
He hasn't betrayed you yet.
He might be my favorite director to date.
He's so consistent.
I mean,
Have you seen Oculus?
No, I haven't seen Oculus.
Dude,
I know.
can't wait for you to see that.
But in terms of directors that I will, like, I've just got faith in, it's
He delivers.
basically him, Villeneuve.
Yep. I'd agree with you there.
Those two. Really, at the moment, I can't say a bad word about them. I mean, I could find, like, pretty much any other director, I could find something that I don't like or some kind of criticism that I could have of anything, really. But Villeneuve and Flanagan, I just, at least that comes to mind, can't think of anything wrong with them.
Other than their heads. Guys, hit us up with a question for next week. We'd love to hear from you. Let's finish off with Watchmen episode 4 spoiler review. So if you haven't seen this, guys, we'll see you next week. It's been really, really nice hanging out. If you have seen it or you don't really care, continue listening on. When I was watching this, I truly felt that we were into the second phase of this series. Like, I felt like this was, we'd had quite a lot of setup and whatnot in episode 1, 2, and 3. And this one was like, we're not really setting up too much other stuff. It felt like the story was going. I really enjoyed this episode. It wasn't my favorite, like compared to some of the other ones where it's like, oh, this is better. Oh, this one keeps getting better. I think episode 3 is currently my favorite.
Yeah.
But it was still a really awesome episode. It
started to kind of weave a lot of the questions that had been asked in the first 3 episodes, which I think, like I've said, that's always the easy part, right? Asking questions and kind of
set up,
setting things up and like, oh, I wonder what it'll be, right? And this has started to kind of answer / bring some of these disparate threads, at least, if not to an end, but like at least together. Let's see how they weave together, like, having the grandfather be in cahoots with this Vietnamese woman. I think it did it really well. It's a difficult task after having asked that many questions to kind of like start to make something of this series. And I am starting to feel like this series could pull it off all the way.
I'm starting to feel that as well.
And I really don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I really, really need Lyndon. Like, I need him to kind of.
You hearing that, Lindelof?
I really need you to stick the landing on this. I think I'm just telling you, like, this has been such a good setup, and it is starting to like move at a pace that I'm like,
this could be my favorite thing of the year if it sticks the landing.
This could be my Haunting of Hill House for this year.
Yeah, 100%.
Easily.
Now, one of my favorite scenes in this was when Laurie Blake confronts Angela. We're getting that scene where she's like, oh, I found the fingerprints in the car. That she's starting to catch on. The wheelchair prints, the track tires, like things are starting, the dots are starting to connect. And I was like, okay, wow. These character dynamics are changing rapidly. Mm-hmm. This is really starting to heat up nicely, and I think it was just fantastic writing and setup and payoff.
Yeah, one of the things that I really love is that I don't know how I feel about any of the characters.
Yeah,
at any given time, I could, like, you asked me, are they a villain or are they a good person? Like, are they the protagonist, antagonist? I was like, I don't know. Even Angela, I'm like,
she's most definitively the protagonist for me, but at least you're following her journey. But I know what you mean. Like,
I don't know if if I like her necessarily. Like, some
of her reactions are interesting. They're not your typical like stoic hero. There's something different. There's something human about her.
Yeah, like, for example, some of her interactions with her stepkid or her foster kid, adopted kid. The young boy, I mean, it's like, you're a bit rough, right? Like, fucking chill. So like there's a kind of, if she turned out to be not evil, but if she turned out to be a little bit more complex in terms of her morality, then it wouldn't surprise me. And that goes for like Adrian Veidt, like I'm like, am I meant to like? I kind of want him to escape, but at the same time, I don't. Like I just like that whole mystery keeps.
It's getting so interesting.
Getting more and more interesting. Like
Benny said last week, he's on Mars, and I truly believe he's on Mars.
I think he's on Mars. Yeah,
like that bit where he's catapulting.
And then just like
looking through the telescope and they're just disappearing. And you're like, whoa, this is like something out of a video game, man. Like, have I ever seen that in a movie before? That type of scene. It was so out there and bizarre and fantastic.
I think episode 2 was probably where I got like really strong suspicions that he was on Mars. Because that's when they introduced like the tomato tree and the idea that these were clones.
It still didn't elude me, but I can see the dome now and like the force field projection of where he is in Mars, like on Mars.
Like, that kind of like the fact that I think he's imprisoned there by Manhattan, but that would make sense because Manhattan wanted to make life, and in this episode he's very specifically said that he didn't create this life.
Yes.
So that would make sense. The whole idea that this place clearly isn't Earth or isn't like Earth, alludes to the fact that, all right, this was created by, someone else.
Those creepy fetuses in the lake and he just tosses them. So
that I loved that
uncaringly.
Scene. That scene was so wild because it was just this like, oh, I'm fishing for like lobster. Like I was just looking at like, that one's not going to do.
And he's just like his worthlessness of these beings. Like he knows what's happening with the creation, which let's say it is Dr. Manhattan, and he looks at them as sort of sub beings.
Yeah. What a fantastic way to just show his dispassion or contempt for those. Those just like, ugh.
Yes. Yeah, really, really great. So loving all of that stuff. What were some other key highlights in here? I think the opening scene.
Oh, sorry. Talking about
the opening scene, like where you had what was the character's name? Lady Triu.
Yeah.
She comes to that farmland with that Oklahoma couple, and she just bribes them with a genetically formed baby.
Very cool.
That was so out there.
There was one thing that I didn't understand, and I don't know whether this is just because I missed something, but I was under the impression that was meant to be quite a while ago in the past. Because the shot after that transitions, like something falls from the sky, right?
Yes.
And then it transitions to a shot of the Manhattan phone booth.
Yes.
And it looked as though the Manhattan phone booth was like right over where whatever that thing that fell from the sky was. And I was like, are they saying that whatever that fell,
and then it transitioned, didn't it?
It like that's the same place, just like 50 years later when a town's been built over it?
Didn't they?
Yeah, so I was like, is that meant to have been in the past and now this is built over it?
I didn't think so, just because of the tech. Just because of the tech. Like the ability to bring the baby back. But that you're it's an interesting thought. I didn't even
and because they also said you're building the clock, was that like she will be building the clock? Like she has plans to build it, or
was it fully constructed by the time they went in later?
You didn't see it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and they were still building it at the end of the episode, so like it could have worked either way.
Totally.
So I was trying to think like,
I just think it seems too sophisticated to be a flashback, that technology. But it's an interesting thought. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
But like the way she turned in terms of writing and character and really setting the scene for what they are, just waltzing in, saying, I'm going to have this in 3 minutes. The confidence, turning the hourglass. And it was just, she didn't give a shit. Like she would, the baby, she's like, oh, we don't want to kill it. It's
like, if you don't sign in 10 seconds, I'll be throwing it away.
So nihilistic.
And then like laughing, be like, of course not.
It just really great acting as well as great script writing and scene setting. It's just, it really shows the sophistication of this show. Then another scene that sort of stood out was Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, I should say, his character. sort of his kids, just telling them like, you remember like what was he before? He was nothing before, and then he lived, and he was a baby, and then he became a child, and then he was an old man, and then he died, and he returned back to nothing. And I was like, whoa, is that what I'm gonna be like when I'm a dad?
Jesus,
it was very brutal. It was very brutal.
Yeah, I love the relationship between him and Angela, and how we're getting like this kind of more, we're kind of getting little hints onto how they are as a couple.
More platonic in a way.
It is like they're very amicable
Mm.
in a very like it just in a way that.
But they had sex in an early episode, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely not platonic, but
Yeah.
like I don't think it's
They're a
platonic. is the right way.
partnership.
It very much feels like a partnership. Yeah.
And they kind of know their lanes.
Yeah.
They sort of have roles and responsibilities.
I'm super interested in that. Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's really cool.
Developing nicely.
But
yeah, this one, not necessarily as much to talk about. I don't.
No, it's really about like they've asked a lot of the questions and they're just kind of answering
Sort
a
of
couple
shaping it up
and like
now.
bringing things a little bit together. Like, I read something that said that there's even more questions in this one. And I don't really feel as though there are. I think they probably answered as many as they asked. But everything feels as though we're going to like the beginning, like the questions have been asked. Let's now get into the point of the series where we're moving forward. Like we're all queued up on what's going on, who people are. Like we're probably not going to be introducing too many more characters. Like this really feels like where things start moving.
Yeah. And as I said, it feels like phase 2, we're into the next part of the series. So yeah, feeling good. Real
like
good.
I said, I really feel like if they maintain this level of quality throughout the entire series, that this would almost certainly be on my top 10 of this year.
100%.
Which I would have, like, if you told me when I had first watched the trailers that this was going to be my top 10, I'm like, nah, not a chance.
Really?
Yeah, look, the trailers just didn't really do much for me.
I think I was just sold on the promise of
David Lindelof doing Watchmen.
Not even Lindelof, just Watchmen coming back, and it just looked really crisp.
It could have been like, doesn't that feel like it could have been just so bad?
It could have been horrible. It just, it looked.
I will be
really
gutted, like, because now that I've let
sophisticated.
myself think that this could be it, I will be so utterly gutted if they don't stick the landing, which is a serious possibility.
And some people don't think Watchmen, the comic book series, sticks the landing. So if he's doing a lot of parallels with that. So will he do something totally wild and out there that takes a minute to digest? Expect that.
Like a giant squid?
Like a giant squid flattening a city. Expect that. Well, guys, we've got a monster week next week. Watchmen episode 5 review. We'll be talking about The Mandalorian as well, because Disney Plus will have released in Australia. Also got The Irishman, and we'll have our Dr. Sleep review up. So it's going to be huge. We're going to fit it in somehow. We'll see you then with the crew fully formed
to create
again
the ultimate
podcast.
I feel bad for saying that. It just feels so lame.
You either got to commit or
yeah,
not,
I kind of half-assed it, didn't I? Oh, damn. All right, well,
good luck in the cinema, man. The 3.5 hours in The Irishman.
Fuck.
Good luck to you.
Have you watched it yet?
No, I'm watching it this weekend.
Do it Sunday.
Sunday, I'm supposed to be doing some crap. So
doing some crap.
Yeah, it might be Saturday morning. Now I think about it. Fuck. Whoa. Anyway, we'll see you then, Connor.
Catch it. See you.